In the beginning, the earth was shapeless and empty, with darkness covering the deep waters. Then, God's Spirit moved over the waters. God commanded, "Let there be light," and light appeared. God saw that the light was good and separated it from the darkness. Genesis 1 verses 1 to 4. This profound act of creation brings up one of the most intriguing theological questions. Where did God come from? Before time and space existed, in the void and darkness, God lived in majestic solitude. He brought light out of darkness and order out of chaos. But this still leaves us wondering, where did God originate? Many believe that God created the earth around 6,000 years ago in 6 days. This raises the logical question. If God created the universe, then who created God? And if you continue this line of questioning, it leads to an infinite regress. However, this question misunderstands the nature of God. The Christian belief is that God is uncreated and eternal. It's crucial to recognize that something cannot come from nothing. Since we exist, there must always have been something. The physical world, bound by the laws of thermodynamics and the Big Bang Theory, is not eternal. Therefore, the eternal something must be beyond our physical universe, aligning with the concept of an uncreated, eternal God. Imagine this. The universe is expanding at a rapid pace, but we can't explain where this energy comes from or why it seems to be speeding up. All we know is that energy, as we understand it, gets used up. This suggests that the physical world we see isn't the ultimate reality. Everything around us, from chairs to people, comes into being and eventually fades away. These things are contingent, meaning they depend on something else for their existence and don't last forever. They don't explain themselves. If we trace everything back, we must conclude that something entirely different from what we see caused it all. According to Christian belief, this something is God, who is eternal and uncreated. As it says in John 1 verses 1 to 3 NIV, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made." This verse highlights the idea that God exists outside the constraints of time and creation. Now, consider this. If you argue that everything must have a creator, then who created your creator? This question, often posed to challenge the existence of God, misses the point that God's nature is fundamentally different from the universe's. During a conversation with a physicist, he challenged the idea of the Trinity, calling it absurd for a mathematician to believe. In response, the concept of understanding was flipped. The physicist couldn't explain consciousness or energy despite believing in them. This highlights a crucial point. Just because we don't fully understand something doesn't mean it isn't real. Similarly, the belief in God's eternal nature isn't diminished by our limited understanding. The Christian claim that God is eternal and uncreated stands as a central tenet of faith, much like the fundamental but not fully understood concepts in science. This invites us to consider that some truths exist beyond our complete comprehension. Have you ever wondered about the origins of energy, light, gravity, or even consciousness? In a recent conversation, someone asked me if they should dismiss me as an intellectual. I replied, "Please don't." This person, 5 minutes earlier, was ready to dismiss me without a second thought. I pointed out that if we don't fully understand what energy is, then it's not surprising that energy, light, gravity, and consciousness remain mysteries. These elements, much like God, are deeply intertwined and complex. The question, who created God, is often posed, but the answer is rooted in understanding the nature of God. As Keith Ward explains in his book, God, Chance, and Necessity, a timeless and eternal being cannot have a cause. Genesis 1 verse 1 states, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." If God transcends space and time and exists independently, nothing could have caused him to come into being. Everything that begins to exist has a cause, but an eternal being doesn't fit this premise. Atheists like Daniel Dennett acknowledge that eternal entities, like numbers, don't need causes because they never begin to exist. Hence, the concept of God as an eternal, self-existent being means that God is uncaused, asking who created the uncreated creator. is like asking, what sound does silence make? It's a question that misunderstands the nature of the subject. Many atheists, including myself when I was one, believe in some form of an uncreated cause. Whether it was a multiverse generator or a quantum environment that caused the universe, I saw it as uncreated. Thus, the belief in an uncreated creator is not unique to theists. Genesis 1 verse 1 declares, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth," underscoring the belief in a self-existent God. The notion that God is not affected by time, space, or matter is crucial. If he were, he wouldn't be God. Time, space, and matter must have come into existence simultaneously, as Genesis 1 verse 1 suggests, pointing to a creator who exists outside these constraints. Have you ever wondered how the universe came to be? The Bible answers this in just 10 words. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, Genesis 1 verse 1. This simple statement reveals a profound truth. Time, space, and matter were created simultaneously. Time includes the past, present, and future. Space encompasses length, width, and height. Matter consists of solids, liquids, and gases. These elements form a trinity of trinities that had to be created together. The God who created them exists outside of these limitations. Just as the designer of a computer is not inside the computer, God is beyond and unaffected by time, space, and matter. Some argue that a spiritual force cannot influence a material body. But if our brains are merely random chemical reactions, how can we trust our thoughts and emotions? Things like love, hate, and rationality suggest there is more to our existence than just physical matter. When people ask where God came from, they assume he is limited by the universe. The God I worship is not constrained by time, space, or matter. If he could be fully understood by our finite minds, he wouldn't be God. As explained in Job 26 verse 7, he stretches out the north over empty space. He hangs the earth on nothing. This emphasizes God's omnipotence and the miraculous nature of creation. Before anything existed, God was there. He created everything from nothing, demonstrating his supreme power. His creation, including the stars and the universe, was made effortlessly. God's sovereignty is beyond our understanding, and that makes him worthy of worship. As Philippians 2 verses 10 to 11 declares, "At the name of Jesus every knee should bow, and every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father." This divine orchestration of the universe points to a creator who is all-powerful and eternal.
If you found this video enjoyable, please consider liking and sharing it. Additionally, subscribing to this channel will ensure that you receive more updates in the future. Thank you.